gorillas is a lot, but the people of Kigezi are not benefiting from it. All of it comes here in the central, and the roads are bad. Right, Honorable Speaker, in addition to that, I would like to add to what Honorable Katesh has said.
Tuli live mu Parliament nsonga z'eggwanga Uganda akasattira kamaanyi wakati wa ggwanga Uganda ne gavumenti yaffe beebuuza tugenda okujja ensimbi ne bakyalabawo nti amawanga g'ewabweru agabadde gewa Mwami Museveni ensimbi gaastepinze down ne gagamba tegenda kuddamu kuwula Uganda olw'okulinnyirira eddembe ly'obuntu olw'engeri Uganda gyeyisaamu abatuuze bannansi. Amawanga g'ebweru gagamba nti tegenda kuddamu kutuwa nsimbi era gavudde mu mukago gwe tubaddemu nago ogw'okuwolagana ensimbi nga bagamba nti ensonga zino bazze beetegereza ebintu bya Uganda butya bwe bitambula era nga twalabyeko ne minisita wa Human Rights Committee yagobeddwa mu lukuŋŋaana lwali luyitiddwa amawanga gonna ne bamugamba nnyabo n'eddaddako ebbali ebigenda mu maaso waka mu ggwanga lya Uganda tebisaanidde kulaba nga batuweereza omukiise okutuula okwogera ku nsonga z'eddembe ly'obuntu. Paalamenti kigiwadde okutya nga beebuuza nti Uganda tulagawa bwe gabeera nga amawanga gabadde gatuwola ensimbi gatudduse tugenda kutandikirawa. Kino nno kiddiridde His Excellency Kyagulanyi Robert Ssentamu the President okufulumya firimu ye eya Bobi Wine the People's President n'agiteeka ku mitimbagano gyonna amawanga gonna agali gatategeera Museveni olwaleero ne gaba nga gamaze okumutegeera. Kati ababaka basattira beebuuza nti tukoze tutya eggwanga ligenda kuggyawo ensimbi ezigenda okulitambuza. Bagezezzaako okukola kyonna ekisoboka okukamula bannayuganda obula kubakamula musaayi. Babateekako emisolo ku buli kintu n'ebitategeerekeka. Ky'ovulaba nti abasuubuzi bo beekubyemu ogutayaka ne batandika okwekalakaasa nga balaba kisusse. Kitegeeza n'ebitongole ebirala byonna ebibadde bikyasirise bagenda kutandika okwekalakaasa nga bagamba nti mutubbye nnyo mutukamudde nnyo omusolo. Kitegeeza nti gavumenti eba eremereddwa. Kino kye kitadde Paalamenti mu kutya bali mu kwebuuza tugenda kukikwasaganya tutya.
The colleagues who were around stood up and I said they are the only ones who are going to speak. So if you were in the corridor, in the canteen, and you have very good points, unfortunately you will wait for another day. Honorable Mwezo. Honorable Mwezo.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I also wish to appreciate the committee for the good work. There has been an increase in counterfeits in the entire country. And this is because UNBS has not been given money for field inspections. For almost the entire year, I haven't seen UNBS do field inspections in the city. And, it's because they also say that they have limited staff, and this has created a menace. Particularly at our borders, there is a limited presence of UNBS staff, which creates a problem. So the issue is how much money have we put aside for the field inspection so that we can reduce on the number of counterfeits in the country? That is my question. Then secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, we have, the poorest road infrastructure, particularly in the city. I know we shall come to that when we come to physical infrastructure, but we also need to address, because without buses that, move these tourists in the cities, majority of them are not working because of the potholes in the city. So I pray that we consider that, particularly when it comes to good road infrastructure in the city.
Thank you. Honorable Kunyinji Mwada, Honorable Faith Punhira.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the committee for the elaborate report. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I have 3 observations. One, the report mentions Uganda Hotel and Tourism Training Institute that they are undertaking insider borrowing, spending at source, among others, in total contravention of the Public Finance Management Act. But they fell short of a recommendation. Isn't it proper, you would have said, let the IGG or even the police investigate and ensure that the culprits are actually apprehended and they are brought to account as a missing recommendation, because there's no recommendation to that. Much as it appears you did a thorough job of investigating and establishing, especially considering their half-year performance. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, on page 32, the committee brings into picture the aspect of compensation. And they specifically report that there is increasing number of human wildlife conflicts, including destruction of property and lives. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, this is very important. We are talking about tourism and encouraging people maybe to visit our game parks, among others. But when it comes to the regulations that were in 2022, the committee has observed only one concern of a compensation of 2%. Right Honorable Speaker and the colleagues, I want you to bring your attention to the other regulations. When you look at the aspect of proving a claim, these regulations are very unfair. They provide that for you to allege a claim and receive compensation, you must report on the spot that you were attacked. And if it is an animal, you must produce the carcass or any remainder, which is impossible in some instances. And without the regulation proposed to allude to a requirement that you must report, which is impossible to most of the victims. And aware that the report is disclosing increase in encounters between wildlife and destruction of property and lives, we must equally interrogate this. I think the recommendation fell short of also mentioning that they must also revise these regulations. One, to give a proper timeline within which to report a complaint, because the regulation provides that you must report on spot, and if there is any delay, not exceeding 1 or 2 days. I mean, not exceeding one day, which is hard. Secondly, the regulations talks about a compensation applicable if you lose a life, and they are restricting it to only 20 million. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, you cannot purport to restrict a compensation on life to just 20 million. And if you have been disabled, then to 15 million. I believe this is in contravention and in conflict with other neighboring laws we have in this country. And I beg to move that the recommendation be amended and to include a thorough revision of the Uganda Wildlife Compensation Scheme regulations 2022, so that there is enough time offered to victims to report such encounters, and two, that the compensation is equally revised to comply with other neighboring laws. I beg to submit.
Thank you. Honorable Mugore. Then
was the Conference on Non-Aligned Movement, to which Uganda assumed the chair and is going to be chair for 3 years. During that meeting, a number of deliberations were done, and a document known as the Kampala Outcome Document was produced. In that document, Madam Speaker, a very precise and clear position on the question of Palestine was professed, and that is Uganda's position. I would like members to look at the Kampala Outcome Document.
Which conferences were there now?
This is NAM. Then secondly, we had the G77 plus China. And Madam Speaker, the theme for the NAM conference.
Those are the three?
There were two.
There were two.
Yeah.
So you don't consider the one that was hosted by Parliament as a Ugandan activity?
Madam Speaker, I was responding in respect of those under foreign affairs, but we do consider the one which was hosted by Parliament very dearly. But I was only talking about the other two in context.
That is still under foreign affairs.
We applaud Parliament for hosting the Speakers' Conference in Munyonyo as well, and we take pride in it. Madam Speaker, the theme for the NAM conference was deepening cooperation of partner states for shared global affluence. And I wanted to respond to the Honorable Sereko, who asked this question. That alone means we need to deepen our engagement with the South countries. And therefore it means we have to involve ourselves in terms of even investing in missions in those countries so as to further the commercial and economic diplomacy. And that's where we shall deepen global affluence or strengthen the sharing of global wealth. Now, the issue of having the ambassador of Russia, Uganda as a representative in Russia, as at the same time being a representative to Ukraine. Madam Speaker, it doesn't have any harm whatsoever because number one, Uganda is not concerned about the quarrels between the two nations in question because, to even emphasize on that, we are members of non-aligned movement. Therefore, we don't poke our nose in the affairs of any of those two countries, but also provide for under the Vienna Convention of 1969 on diplomatic relations. There is no law whatsoever violated if you have a representative of in one nation also representing in another nation where these two nations do not have diplomatic ties. It's therefore all right. Finally, on the issue of
Can you summarize?
On the issue of representation vehicles, Madam Speaker and colleagues, we all travel abroad and we all love to be given courtesies. And many times we have gone abroad and been received in a manner that is worth what we have provided. But we have also seen in this country where we have delegations coming in and received by their missions accredited to Uganda. I think a difference is quite loud sounding. I therefore want to implore this House to enhance the budget of Ministry of Foreign Affairs to cater for those critical areas, particularly which touch the image of our country through missions abroad, including capital or development expenditure to care for our dilapidated structures. And then the last on that is about statutory obligations to host countries. Indeed, it's true, Madam Speaker, we are obliged to pay local taxes to host countries where we have property. Now, in Ottawa and Kinshasa, we are heavily indebted, and the host countries have already given us notice to the effect that our buildings may be auctioned. It's therefore important that we, and I'm glad Madam Speaker, the other day you guided, I think it was yesterday, that we do look at the other day, that we do look at amending the PFMA 2015, whereupon we request that during that amendment, we should have sectors which contribute to the national treasury, but have certain obligations, be permitted to remit after deduction of certain obligations. That's what we call profit after tax and interest. Thank you very much.
The NTRs. Thank you so much, honorable members. I now put a question that the report of the Committee of Foreign Affairs on Ministerial Policy Statement and the budget estimates for financial year 2024-2025 be adopted by this House. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. Yes, I have it. But all the issues that have been raised on the ministerial statement, Mr. Honorable Minister, all the issues that have been raised must be handled. Let it not just be for the sake. Agriculture.
The Committee on Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries.
And this report is referred to Committee on Budget, furtherance to Rule 149(2) of the Rules of Procedure. Agriculture, I'm giving you 15 minutes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg to lay the report of the Committee on Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries on the Ministerial Policy Statement and Budget Estimates for financial year 2024-2025. I beg to lay. In the same vein, please lay. I beg to lay the minutes of the meetings while the committee was considering the Ministerial Policy Statement. I beg to lay. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I now beg to present the report of the Committee on Agriculture on the Ministerial Policy Statement and Budget Estimates for the financial year 2024-2025. With your guidance, Right Honorable Speaker, I will just try to make the summary within the time you have allocated. Right Honorable Speaker, agriculture remains the mainstay of Uganda's economy. Actually, it is the backbone and the heart of the economy. But much as it is so, while looking at the estimates that have been given, there is limited allocation to the program on agro-industrialization, and this impacts negatively on the activities of the program. And based on the importance and the recent developments, agricultural sector requires an affirmative action to support socioeconomic transformation agenda, and also support the PDM and improve on the livelihoods and incomes of our people. Right Honorable Speaker, I go straight to page 6. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, on gender and equity compliance, all the votes under the program scored above the threshold of 50% as indicated in the report. Right Honorable Speaker, the overall program budget is projected to decline by 21.6% from Uganda shillings 1,813.9 billion as approved in financial year 2023-2024 to Uganda shillings 1,288.2 billion in financial year 2024-2025 as indicated in table 2 on page 7. Right Honorable Speaker, that table 2 shows a budget allocation to the program for financial year 2024-2025. And specifically for agro-industrialization program, the budget will decline as indicated, as I have already said. And Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, compared to what was passed in the National Budget Framework paper, the projected budget is projected to reduce by 1.4%, that is Uganda shillings 22.3 billion, mainly on account of 11.9% reduction in external financing component from Uganda shillings 837.3 billion, approved in budget framework paper, to 737.3 billion as projected in the budget estimate. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, compared with the overall national budget, agro-industrialization program is projected to share only 2.7% of the resources in financial year 2024-2025, down from what it was 3.6% in the approved budget for financial year 2023-2024. Additionally, the allocation to the program is 26% less than the NDP3 envisaged allocation of 2,193 billion. The continued underfunding, Right Honorable Speaker, of the program undermines government's commitment of 10% under the Malabo Declaration, to which Uganda is a signatory, and therefore dims the medium-term prospects of the program. Right Honorable Speaker, with your guidance, I now go straight to observations and recommendations. Right Honorable Speaker, on program budget performance for financial year 2023-2024, the program had an approved budget of 1.814 trillion. By December 2023, Uganda shillings 746 billion had been released, of which 526 billion was spent. The percentage of budget release stood at 41.1%, while the percentage of releases spent stood at 70.6%. The overall program external budget performance amounted to 29.82% and 56.78% in release and expenditure, respectively. Specifically, the expenditure on external financing for VOT 010, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, was 26.2% and 64.7% in release, mainly due to the delay in the approval of the restructured plan on the enhancing national food security through increasing rice production in Uganda Project 1316 and the Uganda Climate Smart Agricultural Transformation Project 1786, which was programmed in the financial year 2023-2024, with an approved budget of 411.7 billion. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the committee observed that whereas recurrent expenditures were generally well absorbed, domestic development and external financing lagged behind significantly, which indicates challenges in effectively utilizing resources, potentially hindering the program objectives. The committee recommends that a thorough review of project management practices and financial oversight to ensure optimal utilization of resources and timely project delivery be done. The committee also recommends that the implementation process of the delayed projects be expedited to ensure timely utilization of allocated funds and prevent further underspending. On the underfunding of the program, the committee observed that the agro-industrialization program is allocated only 2.7% of the total national budget in this financial year 2024-2025, down from 3.6% in the approved budget for financial year 2023-2024. I had already talked about this, Right Honorable Speaker. Moreover, over 45.5% of this program budget is through external financing in form of loan projects. This form of financing is not reliable, and it in many cases performs very low, way below the planned budget in releases and the expenditure due to very stringent conditions attached. Recommendations by the committee. Government should raise the budget of agro-industrialization program from the current 2.7% to a minimum of 10% as per the 2013 Malabo Declaration to which Uganda is a signatory. The committee also recommends that the funding for the program should be strategically shifted from the unreliable external financing, as has been the case over time, to government of Uganda financing for the stability of the program. On pest, vector, and disease control, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the committee observed that there is persistent outbreaks of pest, vector, and diseases, especially foot and mouth disease. Many members have always raised this issue as a matter of concern, but with the minimal budgets to address the problem. In the current year, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, many of the districts within and outside the cattle corridor have had an escalating outbreaks of foot and mouth disease and PPR, that is a disease of small ruminants, goats, and so forth, which has affected the animal market both domestically and internationally. More so, the crop sector's production and productivity is not spared with the persistent incidences of pests and diseases in the major crops like coffee and cotton. The Ministry of Agriculture requires 769.12 for the purchase of foot and mouth disease vaccines and vaccine cold chain equipment for biannual vaccination of the 44 million animals at risk.
Then these committees are left hanging as whether they did a good job or actually their job was partly done. Time the budget committee will have to make the entire reconciliation of this voice, Right Honourable Speaker. I thought I should augment his challenge because I also found a bit of that challenge. When I have the three documents, the MPS, the budget estimates, the bill itself, and then eventually the co-agenda, Right Honourable Speaker.
And Madam Speaker, if you can allow me, if you look at the appropriation bill that has all the votes, vote 130, 131 is missing. Yet the law on public finance speaks about completeness of information, completeness, and says shall completeness. The minister actually is supposed to bring here a statement to attest to the completeness of the information he's giving Parliament. So he can't keep walking here like he's walking to milk cows. He brings one document, he throws it there. Then he goes back, he brings another, he throws it there. Then he walks back. The law requires him to bring a state on completeness of information you have in Parliament before we undertake this process of policy statement